Very good evening to you once again. If you're just joining us, well, you find us as we wrap up a conversation about violent crime in KwaZulu-Natal. It has been a special broadcast focusing primarily on what is being done in this province. Law enforcement versus hardened criminals who seem to have an appetite to go to war with the police. Well, joining me now for a wrap of this conversation is the Minister of Police, Senzo Mchunu. Minister, good evening to you, and thank you very much for your time. Let's begin with your thoughts about whether or not the war against violent criminality in KwaZulu-Natal is being won by the police. What's your view?
Well, good evening to you, Oli, and the people who are watching your program. To us, it's not a question so much of whether the war is being won. It's not even the question of there being a war. It's a question of clarifying things to the public in the following manner. One, the police, South African Police Service, is the only organization that is lawfully mandated in South Africa to protect all citizens of this country against any harm by anyone for any reason. They're the only ones. And this thing must sink to the public that they are legitimate, they have a mandate, they have training, they have skills for this, they are trained for it. Now that's number one, which then says they can't ordinarily be in a war with any other person to fight crime. When they come, it is crime that must run away. It is criminals that must run away, if they so wish. Now, therefore, we don't want to legitimize any other thing that is coming by way of people who in the first place should not be existing. Now that they are forcing themselves to exist, the question is, what does the public do? The public must cooperate with the police so that we remove the scourge, we overcome the scourge. And therefore, I'm not going to be talking about the war with anybody. I'm not going to, between anybody and the police, because all of that is something that shouldn't be there and it shouldn't arise in the first place. Now, the question, therefore, is what is happening? What we are doing, we are reinforcing police in all cylinders of policing, because we see that if we don't strengthen police, so that all their cylinders function optimally, we are then going to attract a debate about who is winning and so on. We just want to be understood. We want to be understood to be having a very strong ground in terms of mandates in South Africa to remove crime. And those who stand on our way, on the way of the South African police, they are not necessarily, they mustn't see themselves to be at war with police. They are just presenting themselves for some other agenda, and it's not going to be tolerated.
Minister, there were very interesting words that were said by the Commissioner of Police in KwaZulu-Natal, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, and it's something that he is saying more and more as he takes to public platforms, and that is that the laws of the country need to change so that people who commit crimes are not seen as living a life that is fulfilling in jail whilst they're sitting in jail. In other words, the commissioner is complaining that criminals commit crimes outside and they're taken into jail, and in jail they get breakfast, they get dinner, they get lunch, they get dinner, they have education, and yet a person who lives in a squatter camp does not have access to such privilege. Do you agree with the sentiments of the Provincial Police Commissioner in KwaZulu-Natal?
Police Commissioner in KwaZulu-Natal and even the National Commissioner, the Civilian Secretariat, all of us are no longer talking about the changes that must happen. We are in the process. One of the things that one of the bills that is at an advanced stage in terms of review is the South African Police Act. That is number one. Two, we are at an advanced stage in terms of developing the policing policy in the country. It's at an advanced stage. We're pushing as fast as we can. But there are other bills. But one of the things that we're discussing is where a criminal happens for his own or her own reasons to fight a policeman, and the policeman, a woman gets injured, or for some misfortune die, we have taken a decision, and we want legal services, and even today we're discussing that in SAPS, to begin to implement this. Not only will we go to court for civil claims, I mean, not only will we be going to court to win the case against such a criminal, once we win the case against a criminal who would have been fighting and we arrest and they found guilty, they get found guilty, we are going to institute civil claims against such a criminal to look after this policeman or woman who has been injured or even got killed. We will pursue each one of them in such circumstances. And we will pursue them to make sure that we get whatever we can get from them, so that they don't just go to prison to enjoy whatever privilege, but we will get something from them apart from the sentence that will look after the children of this. Because why do you fight it's like parents at home, and they have children, and children turn against their parents when they know that these are our parents. Now, police are looking after all of us, protecting all of us, and they're legitimatized by the law, protected by the law. Why do we fight them? Just promote criminality. So we're not going to leave them alone. But I'm saying, yes, not only must there be changes, there are changes that are taking place for the better in that regard.
All right. Two quick questions, Minister, before we are out of time. How are police supported? Because looking back at the data, let's say dating back to 2017, the suicide rate within the police service is increasing, and that talks to the mental health of police officers. How are they being supported? Because they deal with too much violence in this country.
Yes, there are. As of today, we spent time from 9 o'clock to just after 4 today, just focusing on human resource within SAPS. Now, we're discussing various aspects, and there are many programs or challenges or areas that have been identified in the past, and around which there are programs supporting them, including indebtedness, including anger and anger management. There are a lot of this. But we asked as ministry one question to the managers of this, including national commissioner. Are all these things yielding? Because we see they are working. We see these programs mean good. But we say, what is the impact? Are they getting us the desirable impact in the face of the increases in suicide and all of that? They said the impact is little. And then we said, because the impact is little, and we want to stop this as a growing trend and all of that, we've agreed to establish or decided to establish a task force that is going to be reinforced by people who have expertise in this area in terms of people like SAPS, who have expertise in various areas of looking after police, whether it is financial management, whether it is issues that have to do with emotions, and all other, and there are quite a number. We want this task to take heads of each of these, as we decided, and then we'll reinforce them with the 3 or 4 aspects, and they will form a task team. And they will look at all these things that are happening and find out why they are not impacting the way they should be impacting, but impacting little. And they will do a study, they will do an investigation, and they will bring results to us so that we run programs that have the desirable impact, as it were. And therefore, we want to move from what we're doing now to the better era in terms of looking after police.
Minister Mchunu, in less than a minute, how do you instill confidence to an ordinary South African who says, I don't believe in the South African criminal justice system. I've lost all hope. How do you instill confidence in that kind of a person?
That person, I would say, must think twice, must review their thinking. South Africa has a constitution. Not everything right now is being implemented in terms of what is envisaged in various aspects of the constitution. Let us move and make sure that we implement such, because the constitution, by and large, is our hope. But apart from that, we have a new government. We've started a new term, and we are looking at all these matters. There is everything to hope for in this country in terms of the work that we are doing, and we are finding a new spirit, and even among police. Instead of sitting back and losing hope, sit up, let's rebuild the country, all of us together.
Senzo Mchunu is the Minister of Police. Thank you very much for your time. And this has been a special broadcast focusing on violent crime in KwaZulu-Natal and how police are trying to deal with this. And you have heard the conversations about how stretched they are, both physically and mentally. So hopefully there does seem to be some light at the end of the tunnel. That's the Police Minister helping us to wrap up what has been a special broadcast.